Welcome, everybody. We're here. We finally did it. Episode 1 of High Desert Paranormal Investigators. I'm glad you guys can join me. Thank you guys for coming in. And we are going to have a great episode. I just want to welcome everybody and tell you thank you so much for being here. My wife, Kelsey, and I appreciate you. She couldn't be here. She had to work for an appointment or get to an appointment today, and she's got a lot of stuff going on. Um, but she sends her gratitude and thanks for everybody who's joining the paranormal group, and who has seen our videos, liked our videos, and is subscribed to our YouTube channel. We appreciate you. And she said to let you guys know that your guys' appreciation and for what we're doing as far as following us and uh, showing us the love that you guys have been showing. She thanks you guys a lot. So she couldn't be here, but we are going to go ahead and get on with this episode and get into the uh, stuff surrounding paranormal investigations, the do's, don'ts, um, a lot of things that you see people doing on channels. Like these big shows that are out there, and some of the things that they do, debunking a lot of the stuff that is going on when you're doing investigations that you see. And like I said, my wife gets on me because I'm like looking at these videos sometimes, and I'm like, what are these people doing? Like, it gets under your skin because you're like, What the heck?" And uh yeah, we're just gonna have a good discussion and talk about a lot of the stuff that's going on. Excuse me. Ah, delicious coffee. But yeah, we're gonna jump into it here in a few. Um, but right now we're gonna go ahead and do our intro. So thank you guys. Hold on to your seats. We're gonna get into it. It's gonna be really good. All right, we are back. So like I said, thank you guys again for joining the channel, for joining the group. If you guys are following on Facebook, we thank you guys. Thank you everybody that's joining the group and supporting the channel, and for everybody that's on YouTube. If you haven't already, go ahead and head over there, like and subscribe it. We do have the videos that we posted for our last investigation that we did at the Marzan house. I gotta say that place was really cool. Really, really, really cool. If anybody has not done an investigation at the Marzan house, that is a must. Um, it is in Lovelock, Nevada, for those who do not know. And my daughter's over here watching Star Wars. Um, and they do tours. You have to get a hold of them and see what scheduling that they have for the tour dates at the Marzan house. But I gotta say that when we went to the Marzan house, a lot of stuff going on, and it was really interesting. The history behind it. When we do investigations, my wife and I'm a history buff, so I love looking into the historical aspects of the places that we or the locations that we investigate, because that brings the dynamic of um, who we're going to be talking to if somebody comes through, or if we reach out, somebody's contacting us while we're there, um, and say, okay, well, this has something to do with the location, or yes, this is something that is valuable to look into with the information that they give us. But as I said before, this episode number one, what we're doing here for the podcast for Seeker or High Desert Paranormal Investigators, um, what I would like to get into is this: is the importance of investigators doing investigations in people's personal homes, um, and their investigations of people's businesses. A lot of times you see people who reach out to paranormal groups and they're like, "Hey, I'm having this issue with a lot of this stuff that's going on, with a lot of this stuff that's happening in my home, and I'd like to see if you guys can maybe figure out what's going on and get rid of this stuff." And as anybody who has ever seen a lot of these big time, these big name um, groups that go into these locations, the main thing what they're doing really is to just go in there and just, if there is something going on, hey, that's going to get more views or more people to invest in our show and blow up. But investigators like you see, Hans Holzer, if you don't know who that is, he is one of the first people to begin doing these investigation reports into the paranormal activity, paranormal realm. And he was very meticulous in the documentation that he did for these investigations. And anybody, like I said, if you have not heard of Hans Holzer, let me see if I could pull something up for him. I'm just looking up, trying to see if I could pull up a clip of his um, his filing. But um, from 1920 to 2009, good lord, uh, he is an Austrian-born ghost hunter. He was in the process of what you would call the very first of of our kind paranormal investigator. He was a professor and a doctor. He was best known for his plethora of hundreds of cases worldwide dealing with the paranormal and the occult, deeming him the given phrase of the father of the paranormal. And in 1935, at the age of 15, Hans became an avid collector of antiques and coins and was an ordained bibliophile. The 1928 book, all right, hold on, I'm getting more of this, it's loading. Occultism in the Modern Age by Dr. T.K. Ostrich, a professor at the University of Tübingen in Germany, began Hans's approach to ghosts. His his was an ideal curiosity mixed with a with a show me kind of skepticism, and he took a course in the foreign correspondence with the intent to write articles on occult activities, the theater, and human interest stories. He began to compose music and write scores in New York. Um, One of the greatest mediums, Ellen Garrett, president of the Still Today Parapsychology Foundation in New York in 1946, worked with Hans and encouraged him to write about his work. In 1970 or 63, excuse me, his first book was born, titled Ghost Hunter, and went into an unheard or 11 printings and unheard of 11 printings. 145 more books would follow. Hans stated sometimes an ordinary person does manage to see or hear a ghost in an ele- allegedly haunted location. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me today. I'm like stuttering all over myself. Be it a building or even an open space. Such a person could be sensitive to mediumstic without knowing it and is less usual than one might think. The Holzer method was born before the 1950s, where combining the work of those with sight and that of the academic and science stance to the field would yield far better results in obtaining data to help us further understand what happens when we die. And even though Hans was an artistic and therefore sensitive person, he did not profess to mediumship. Certainly would not be satisfied with the meager impressions he may garner himself. Physically, a more advanced psychic talent would be needed for better results, so he took his sensitive with him, or what became effectively known as his medium in tow, in cases to try and solve them for all those involved. On his research, he said it was also took place after their investigation was closed. Ghosts are people too. He famously say expressing how with a haunting, they may be unhappy, have memories, and are incapable of escaping themselves from the vicious net of emotional entanglements. It is not a good idea for a ghost hunter to be afraid of anything because fear attracts undesirable even among the unseen. This is very important. And this is why I wanted to do this was because you have to understand something that you're getting into this field of paranormal research and investigation. And I say research and investigation because a good paranormal investigator will always do their due diligence and research. And as Hans Holzer stated himself, you get into this field, you cannot be scared. He said, because fear attracts desirables even among the unseen. His career was a unique whirlwind of books, research, lectures, teaching, hundreds of national and regional talk show appearances, and co-hosting and hosting programs such as Ghost Hunter on Boston's Channel 2, NBC In Search of with Leonard Nimoy, an Alan Landsberg production, and Beyond the Five Senses in Louisiana, Kentucky. Good Lord. Man, I need to drink more coffee. Explorations with Brownfield Productions in Ohio. In radio, he had a continuous segment with New York City's WOR station with famed radio personality Joe Franklin, who still remains a family friend. Some books and cases work yielded films such as Amityville 11, The Possession, the adaptation from his best-selling novel Murder in Amityville. Based on his work on the case in Amityville, Long Island, and the Amityville Curse, which also became a film in 1989 that went to Sweden, the US in 1990, and then in 1991, released in Japan. Holzer became and still is considered a leading authority in the field of the paranormal. Having earned his PhD from the London College of Applied Science, he has spent over 6 decades traveling the world to obtain firsthand accounts of paranormal experiences, interviewing, expert researchers and developing parapsychological protocols and terminology such as sensitive and beings of light. He taught a class in parapsychology at the New York Institute of Technology for nearly a decade, and is one of his favorite quotes comes from T.S. Eliot's confidential clerk saying blandly, "I don't believe in facts, but Hans did. Facts, come to think of it, are the only thing I really do believe in." Um, as I said, if you do not or have not seen anything by Hans Holzer, there is a show that uh, Holzer Files. That's Holzer Files. And what they do is they go research his caseloads that he had, that some were not closed and were left open without any evidence. But as I said before, starting in this, just as Hans Holzer, because he's one of my idols in this field. And that's why I look into a lot of the things that he talked about or he was studying or trying to tell people, was that when we investigate uh, these locations, that we as paranormal investigators, if you have people who call themselves that, the ones who do their due diligence in doing research, that have knowledgeable access or knowledgeable uh, historical backgrounds in parapsychology and the occult and religion, whether it be worldwide religions or uh, God, religious aspects from different clans. You have different religions around the world, um, and cults, cult activity and practices, demonology, having a wide scope of the paranormal world as it is uh, gives an investigator a wider, broader, like when you go to work and tell you, oh, you take your hat off and you put this one on and you become this person at a time when it fits best. A lot of times you see people that do these investigations on, whatever. And I'm not putting any other investigators down. Hats off to you. Keep doing what you're doing. But what I'm saying is this, is you see these people going into people's homes, their businesses, their personal spaces that have problems or issues with these paranormal events, activities, ongoings in their personal spaces. And they're asking these investigators to help them figure it out and try to get rid of it. And a lot of times you see these investigative groups go into these places, and what they do is this. They go in, they introduce themselves, or they talk and get information from these people, um, to get a sense of what they're doing, and it looks good and fine. Oh, this is what's happening. I've got doors opening up. I've got, my kids levitating off of the bed at night. My cats or my dog flying across the room, yada, yada, yada. I got knives coming out of the drawer, and the investigators are just like, oh my God, I got to do this. But in their mind, you see a lot of these people, what they're attracted to is getting any evidence they can to further progress what they're what's gonna help them. And you see this family, these people, these individuals who are asking them, "Hey, I need help to get this crap out of here. I don't wanna live like this anymore." And you have 2 types of investigators. You have the ones who are just looking for paranormal, I would say 3. You have 3 different type of paranormal investigators. You have paranormal investigators, one, just wanna get evidence because you build it up. You know, Their intent in the fact of collecting the evidence, researching and finding out what is going on in the locations. If there is something going on or there are spirits, whatever, that are acting out what's going on. Why are you here? Did something happen? Are you stuck here? Do you know that you're dead? Why have you not been able to leave this spot? They just wanted the wow factor. Oh my god, let me catch something floating, falling, moving, um, in order to just progress their hype, and they're not really doing it to help, although they do some there and do that. Now you have the second investigator who is going there with the intent of helping them, tells the people that, "Yes, I will help you do this, or I will help you remove this, or I will find out what is going on." They get the information, but they don't do anything about it. They don't remove the entities. They don't, if they're negative, they don't help these entities pass on and understand that they don't have to be here, that they can leave this plane and pass on, um, if need be. And then you have the third investigative group, um, that does their research on the location, gets as much facts and information as they can before investigating the location, because now not only do you have the knowledge of, okay, this is a lot of stuff that has happened around in this area or in this location. These people died, tragic events, um, uh, tragic circumstances, or incidences that have happened around the location where somebody has died, passed on, was murdered, whatever the case may be, in order to say, okay, well, what's going on? Well, I'm seeing this and I've seen this person or I've seen this entity, and I get these dreams or the visions or whatever about this and this. Okay, well, it's linking up to what I'm finding out because I did my research and I'm looking at um, something that is probably related to what I'm talking about. Or they find out something that they didn't know or something that's going on, or they encounter something, whether it be a person who passed on or a person who died around and in the area, and in many cases, that is not so. Many cases, you get an entity that is in the location that is probably not good. And I've dealt with that before. I've seen it happen where this entity is trying to reveal itself in a manner of saying, well, I am this. When in fact, you do get sometimes in locations where there are a variety of demonic things that are being done or are influencing the area that are causing problems or are causing people to get in shin mode. Let me break this person down. Let me break this family down and let me attach myself to this person or these people in this location. And that's gonna be the second thing I'm gonna get into, but as I said, you have these investigators who do these things, um, and there are these different types of investigative, I would say, personas, and "What you doing? Don't touch that. You want another cookie? No? Yeah? Okay." Um, and you have these entities that will understand and know who they're dealing with. And as Hans Holzer stated, if you're going to get into this field, you cannot show fear to these entities, no matter what. You've got to hold your ground. You've got to understand something that if you are dealing with something that is negative, demonic, okay, that is progressively making things worse for people in a location or in an area because that is their spot and you're coming as an outsider, do not think that you are gonna thing is not going to do whatever it wants to do. But being prepared not only mentally and spiritually to face something that is there and being able to bring somebody in case you cannot get rid of these things and set it up for these people to help these families or these persons who are dealing with whatever's going on in these locations. And not just going in there blindsided and just, stirring things up and making it worse and just going, "Okay, well, thank you for the evidence. I'm gonna take off now." And that's what you see in a lot of these investigations in these, personal businesses or these homes with these people is that it gets stirred up. You're stirring up a location because a lot of times you will see that these spirits do not know or cannot come to uh, terms with I'm gone, I'm dead. I don't want to pass on. And for me, and I'm just going to get into a little bit of a personal background here for a lot of people that don't know me. I have been doing this for a long time. And it all started for me back in 1996 when my family moved from our little town after my father got out of the military. But I have seen things ever since I was younger and had this, interest in death and what happens when we die. Where do we go from here? Um, I witnessed or seen my grandfather who had passed away a year, uh, before I died, and I never met him, never seen him, never talked to him, never interacted with him at all, and in 1988, in Germany, I was sitting in the living room, and I looked to my left, I was on this man in this dark blue, cream or white shirt colored undershirt with a dark tie, very clean, you know, like you would see back in uh, the '60s or the '50s, suit, real, shiny combed hair and rough face, dark skin. And he's just sitting there and he's looking at me, and I'm playing with this car that I had just gotten for my birthday. And I'm like 8 or 10 years old. And he asked me, do you know who I am? And I shake my head and I'm like, yeah. And I'm just playing. And he's like, who am I? And I'm like, your grandpa Joe. And he's like, oh, you know who I am? And I was like, yeah. And he said to me, you know, I'm always going to be here for you. And I love you. And I will never forget it. I won't. I said I've seen my grandfather before ever. My mom will attest to this. And I looked back and comes out of the kitchen and she's like, who are you talking to? And I'm playing and I'm like, Grandpa Joe. And she's like, got, and I was like, Grandpa Joe, he said he loves me and that he's always there for me. And if I, and she just his like white expression where she just went completely white. And she goes to the room and she's like, come here. And she pulls out this photograph. And I have it still. And she goes, look through this photo album and tell me who you seen. Now, I'm going through all these pictures and I go, that's him right there. And she just like tripped out because like I said, I've never seen my grandfather before ever. Never had an interest in him, never talked about him, never, said, "Hey, let me see pictures of him." But this was the picture that I pointed to. And that right there that's my other cousin, I'm sorry. That's not me. But that's my grandfather. That's the picture that I told that's exactly how he looked, but it was with a suit on. Fast forward along, 96, my dad gets out of the military. We moved to Fresno, California, but we move into this house that was over at that time, it was 155, 58 years old. It was a historical home in Fresno. I'm not going to give the address, but I don't know. Maybe I should. So that way you guys can check it out and see for yourself. We move into this house, and I can honestly say that is when the shit hit the fan. Literally. Um, a lot of stuff started happening. We noticed that, you know, this was not normal. Um, we grew up in a very religious home set. My mother and my father were both pastors at the time. Um, we did, we were always taught that, you either when you die, you either go to heaven or you go to hell. That's it. But as I said, growing up, I always had this inkling something is not right. This is not normal. And I remember telling my mother, like I said before that, when I was younger, around that time I seen my grandfather, I'm gonna die young. And she looked at me and she was like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I'm not gonna live to be an old man. I'm gonna die young." And she said, "No, you're not, going about this whole spew, Jesus loves you, you're gonna live forever." Um, so we move into this house and I just you walked into that house and it was old. Everything. It just it still irks me today. My hairs are, like, standing up because just thinking about it, and my brothers and sisters can attest to this because we sit down and we talk about it, all the shit that happened in that house, excuse my language, but everything that happened in that house brought me to the point that I am today, where I am. We're all through the culmination of my years since that point, going to the military and doing investigations overseas while I was stationed in Korea, in Germany, in Iraq. All of my time, I was asking questions, researching into historical aspects of, Asian culture, why they believe and how they believe in all this. Everything has spirits, and giving respect to the spirits and understanding that spirits that do die tragically do not leave, that they linger in these spots and they become this demonic possessed entity that is in rage, and sometimes people that die, they believe that they're trapped there and that they relive these incidences through their life like a video reel. But as I said, in this house, when we lived there, I had experienced spirits walking through our living room. I would be home alone. My parents would be out doing their shopping, and I would hear things walking through the kitchen, through the dining room, through the living room, and in my father's office, where it would sound like rustling of papers, like somebody just threw his desk papers all over the floor. I'd get up, and there would be nothing there. Lights would be on in the attic when we didn't even have freaking uh, anything up there. The light bulbs would be busted, but would be on. I don't understand it. We would leave and come home, and we'd see the light in the house in the attic on. And I'm like, "Dad, the light in the attic is on." And he's like, "What?" And sure as crap, like there was the lights would be on. I would hear whispering, talking in the house. I would be on the phone with my mom, and it would get staticky, and you would hear something in the background. It was just weird. And as a teenager and as a young person, it's kind of really trippy because at that time, I was going through a lot of things in my life where I was experimenting with occult things. Because as I said, I wanted to know. And to me, being a religious raised child, being, um, what's the word? Rebellious, that to me was my avenue. I started looking into demonology, I started looking into Satanism, I started looking into the different types of occults. My mom was asking me, like, I would come home from the library and have books and would be drawing things that were occultish in nature, and at that time, I started dabbling in witchcraft and, um ceremonial, occult practices as far as like drawing symbols and conjuring up things or opening up things that I shouldn't have been doing. Um, but now being older and realizing what this stuff meant or how to do this and studying it, I have more of an awareness for uh, the um, I guess you could say the realization of the in depthness that when you do things in investigations such as, uh, asking things to come through or asking things, to show themselves, and you're doing it to do it like it's a show. Um, I know when we did our very first investigation here, in town at, Be Still Body Piercing, I, was joined by a fellow investigator, and it was not as much intense as I wanted it to be. It was more like, "Okay, let's see what's happening here." And I did post some videos that we had captured, um, some stuff, some, voice phenomena that it came through. We got some orbs that were, actually touching the devices that we had there. I had placed a device in the bathroom on the sink, and I was talking like, "If anybody's here," and it just swiped it off of the sink. And I was, like, shocked because I was like, "Okay, this thing can really move things. It's able to touch it and physically push stuff." And I did it again, and sure as crap, it did it again. So I was like, "Okay, I'm not gonna break my device. I get what you're saying." Um, but anytime I do a location with my wife, and I love her to death, and I'm glad that she has these same interests as me because we collaborate with each other and we kind of feed off each other's energy. And she tells me, "Hey, babe, I feel this, or I'm sensing something. What do you think?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's be cautious and take our time and take our steps to figure this thing out, because you do not want to conjure up or ask something to." It's kind of like that aspect of a vampire, right? Vampires can't come into your home unless you ask them. That's always been the myth, right? That theory is based on occultism, because things are not presenting themselves unless you do something or ask them to enter. You give it permission to do something. Now, if an entity or something is there and it's dark and it's malevolent and it's doing things and stirring things up within the house and it's already in that location, that is different. It's already there, it's already possessing or in control of that area, and it's able to do whatever it wants to do. Now, if you're in a location and there's something going on, but you're saying, "Okay, do this," or "show yourself," and you get a lot of people that antagonize these spirits or these entities that are already in this chaotic situation, this limbo between life and death, and they're not able to just move on from these locations, or they're just in such a state that they do not understand. Um, for anybody, it's kind of like if you've ever seen these illustrations in these movies where these spirits are, like you see in Insidious, um, where the child goes into the further. It's like that. When you die, you leave this body. Okay, your spirit goes into the next dimension, which is the afterlife, is what we call it. And in this other dimension, like you see in that movie Insidious, it's just like where you see where you're at. It's just you're not here in this plane. So, based on how a person passes on from this life to the next, if a person's peaceful and they're just like, "I'm ready to go. It's my time. I'm done with this life. I've done everything that I can and what I wanted to do." They make that peaceful transition, and either they choose to be in this area because they are like, "I want to be here with my family. I want to stick around. I want to watch over them. I want to, be able to experience this still." You get spirits that are like that. Now, you get these other entities that are in these locations that are like stuck. And it's bad because they either die tragically, um, they die in an instance where their life is just split, gone, done. They don't know that they're dead. They cannot come to terms with being dead. They cannot come to terms with, "I don't want to leave this life. I want to go back." But um, as I said, myself being raised in a religious home, I am not religious myself. I do believe in religious, faith-based things where, people have their faith, and that's what gets you through a lot of this stuff for people who are, experiencing um, these, I would say bad, um, hauntings in these locations, because showed you what Hans Holzer was saying, you cannot show fear in the face of these things, period. Because the minute that you let it in and show it that fear, it will feed off of it and be like, this person's going to break. I can make it. I can do whatever I want because it's going to keep pushing you to depression. It's going to keep pushing you to break. Um, but going back, I'm sorry, I'm getting off uh, cue here. Is that growing up in this home and seeing this stuff that was happening and doing this occultish stuff that was going on in my youth, I opened myself up to a lot of things that I should not have. And I realize that now and, growing up and and being more mature and handling that kind of stuff. Um, there were things that were in that house in Fresno, California that came to a head. Um, I remember being in the dining room because we had done a lot of investigations there and we had gotten a lot of history on the house. It was an old house. It used to be a funeral home. It was a home for people that were um, immigration wise that were hiding out, um, that were just making a transition into California from Mexico or wherever. And some people did actually die in the home. We did find artifacts from these people underneath the crawl space of the house. We found little baby shoes dating back to the ancient period, the early 19 to late mid 1800s. We found newspaper articles on the house during that time in that era, the early 1900s. Um, we did find bones underneath the house. I remember them telling me because when I left to go to the military, they were like, "Man, you'll never believe what we found." And they had this box of stuff that they had collected that they kept in the house. And I'm going to get back to that as well, about the importance of keeping or collecting these items without the understanding of what the implications of keeping these items from these locations and bringing them out into your home. Um, but as I said, everything that had happened in that house, from hearing things, seeing things, moving, my cousins even witnessed it. Um, and we had a Thanksgiving dinner at my house because my father put on these big dinners and invited the families over for Christmas dinner and Thanksgiving dinner and for parties, etc. We're standing in the kitchen and I'm looking out into the kitchen and my cousins are facing me into the dining room and there's a door right here next to us. And I'm talking to my cousins because they knew the house was haunted. I told them, and they never. Well, they did one night, but this night we're standing there and we're just chilling. We're teenagers at this point. We're like 14, 15, and I'm like laughing. I got a soda in my hand, and I look, and the door knob twisted to open. Like I said, these are the all original doors, so it's got that, that fucked up sound that just ugh. We're standing there and he turns and he looks at it and he goes, "Did that effing door just open up?" I said, "I told you, dude." It just happens. And he's like, "Hell no, bro. I am never staying the night at your house ever again." Because the first time we did it, I had all of my cousins over. We're sleeping in my back room, which I had access to my backyard because I had my own back door and it was kind of separate from the house. We were laying down and we were talking and we were just, joking around. And all of a sudden I heard something that sounded like scraping on the wall of the the room right next to us, you know, going across, the wall. And we just froze. And our eyes are big. And I was like, we could hear somebody talking, calling my dog Moses. And I got up. I ran to go get my dad. Dad, 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 somebody's outside. He grabs his machete because at the time he didn't have a gun. He grabs his machete, gets a big flashlight, goes walking around out there, and we're, like, behind him, and, he's like, "Go in the house." We lived in a bad part of the neighborhood of Fresno, California. It was bad, but it wasn't bad, but it was kinda, like, really, really sketchy. It was on Blackstone between McKenzie and Belmont. For anybody that knows that area and has grew up there, you know what I'm talking about. Um, but there was nothing there, and it just happened again, and like I said, by this time, it was around, like, 2:30, 3 o'clock, so it was around that time of what they call the witching hour. So they had witnessed that too, and there was a lot of people who came over and did investigations with us. My uncles, and my tia came over. We had a really good friend, Edgar, who came over. I love him, Edgar. If you're watching the podcast, bro, come on. I want to hear you give your side of the story because you got scared out of your effing mind. We were upstairs doing an investigation, and trying to contact this young little girl that had died in the house that we knew of. Her name was Maria. I'm not going to say her last name. And Edgar would communicate with her in Spanish and talk to her and just let her know, like, you can talk to us. But she was saying that there was something in the house that was not wanting us to talk to them. And Edgar did a very bad thing where you provoke the entity that is dark and malevolent, in the house, and he pretty much said, "F you. Hi, Bebe. I don't believe in you. You're not real. You're not nothing." Yada yada. He just went off, and we were sitting in the dark, and right next to me, Edgar's sitting to my left, and we heard this deep guttural growl, like I can't even do it. Like it's like like bad, like deep. And he fucking jumped out of his chair. "Oh my god." And he was like, "What the fuck was that? What was that?" And he's screaming and he's like, "Oh, he's praying and he's signing himself with the cross." And he's like, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." And from that point on, we knew that there was something bad in the house that was really um, holding these people or these spirits that were there. Um, and come to find out, like I said, it all came to a head point because there was a lot of chaotic stuff that was going on in the house. You know, being kids, we were being really, really rebellious, doing crap that we weren't supposed to do. There was a lot of discord and stuff that was happening in the family, a lot of arguing, a lot of fighting, um, just really being disruptive. And now looking back on it, like I said, after realizing what was going on, the entity was causing a lot of stuff to happen in the home that was causing divide. And that is one of the things that people deal with if they are experiencing this stuff is that the entities will do things not only one, it will present itself to you in a sneaky way of saying, "Oh, I am this person or I am this," sometimes as an innocent child or saying that they are somebody. But then it will do something where it will ask you, or if a person, it'll make them comfortable enough to where these people will say it's accepted. "Oh, you can stay here as long as, okay, I understand that you're here, um, but don't, as long as you're here, don't touch or, do anything bad." Um, and as I said before, now you're giving this entity the ability and saying, "Okay, you're okay to come in." You're giving it permission pretty much. And what it does is it will then start manipulating somebody or someone in the home, and you will start seeing disruptiveness in the house. Things will happen, the person's attitude will change, or the people and the environment, their attitudes will totally change. Then you're going to start getting people to get angry, upset, um, clash with each other, husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, kids against their parents, yada yada yada. Um, the disruptiveness and the chaoticness and cluttering of stuff in the home is what will cause these entities to feed off of the environment, off of these people. And then you got a point where once these people start getting so depressed or getting so tired of it, then they will want to push this person to start thinking about death. And I understand this because when I was younger, I thought about this a lot because I was at that point sometimes where I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I'm tired of it. And the thoughts would come into your head. Oh, it'd probably be better off, if you were gone because they don't care, or, you'd do a better thing if you were just gone. You want, your parents would be better off without you, yada, yada, yada. That is the thing trying to manipulate you into doing something because it wants you to feel that depression. It feeds off of it. And if it can push a person or people to that point, that's what it wants. Its end goal is to do this and deceive and manipulate people in these environments to be able to do that. Give me a second. All right. Can you hear me? All right, I'm back. I'm sorry. I had to go take care of something. So, as I was saying, the entities will come in and they will try and disrupt anything they can because the people either allow them to or they're there and they invoke, provoke, or um, give these entities, these dark entities, permission to do so. And that is something that you have to be very careful of um, in what you're doing and you're allowing. And as I said before, I'm just giving a little background on me personally, dealing with a lot of things that I've dealt with and seen and helping my um, ex sister in law and her, or my sister and her ex husband, when they were living here. You know, God rest her soul. I love you, sis. Having to help him deal with an issue of a place that was here in town where they were experiencing something that was going on about 7, 8 years ago. Um, but going back to this, demonic entity that I have experienced or that I experienced that came to a head, um, I was home alone, and this entity I was by myself, and as I said, I was this house was huge. It was an old Victorian house. I went to the dining room, and I went to put something in the microwave, and I freaking froze, dead in my tracks. Whatever this thing was, I felt it, and it, uh, it shook me. I felt it, my like the electricity in the room just jolted, and it just I remember seeing it out of the corner of my eyes. I I turned because I was freaked out, and I looked, and there was this girl in a Victorian nightgown. Her hair was like light brown, like a cinnamon color, and it was just hanging, curly, hanging down her face. Ugh. And I remember I looked, I seen her, and I could remember her eyes were like fire. I can't explain it. It was like, I can't explain it. They were just really intense. She just had this look like she was looking up at me, like, "Now you see me." And at the time, I did not understand what I was seeing and why I was seeing this. I left. I took off out of the house. I ran out of the gate. I went across the street. And at the time, this was a time before there were cell phones and all that stuff. We had pagers, yes, and we had landlines. I didn't even wanna stay in the house to call my parents. I booked it. I ran across the street to the Burger King that was there at the time. I got on the payphone. I dialed my dad's number. He didn't answer. I, dialed my mom's number. She picked up, and I was like, "Where are you guys at?" Because they had at the time, it was those old Nokia phones, and she was like, "We're about to leave the store. We're gonna be heading home." And I said, "You guys need to come home, like, right now." Um, my mom's like, "What is it? What is it?" I told her, I said, "Just come home, please. I'm not going back into the house." I sat there outside of that gate waiting for them. I went to Burger King. I grabbed something to eat, something like just to calm my nerves. Like, what in the hell did I just see? I couldn't understand it. And the crazy thing about it is that after my mom and them got home, because it was later, it was like 7:30, 8 o'clock by the time they got home. I sat down with my mom and I was crying. I was shaking. And I explained to her detail. I mean, I could still see her little this thing's feet, in the dress. It was just dark. And, ugh, my mom pulled her journal out because my mom keeps journals of a lot of things, and she's had that journal for years. She goes, "I want you to read something." And this was dated like 2 years ago. She had a passage in her journal where she was talking about there was something dark, an entity, a demonic force that was in the home that was gonna cause problems. It was already causing division in the house. She was seeing it in her kids. She was seeing it in her relationship with my dad. She was just seeing it being, trying to attack her with how she dealt with things. She literally and I like I said, if I have to, I will bring my mom on, she could bring her own testimony about what she saw. She described this entity to a T, what I saw, as a young girl, dark hair, in a she saw it in a Victorian, like, nightgown style dress with eyes of hellfire is what she said. And I literally looked at her and I'm like, "What is going on?" So, was this entity in the home, or was it something that we conjured up because dealing with things that I should not have been doing because I did not understand it at the time? I was a young child, opening up things and experimenting with things that I shouldn't have. Was it something that was attached to our family through generational curses, generational issues? Because at the time, I had people that were in my life that had seen things in the home, in that house, and around me. Um, There have been incidences where people in our family, regarding the men in our family that have had things that have happened to them that we believe is a generational thing. Um, uh, this is why I'm saying the things that I'm saying is because as an investigator, when you get into an investigation of this type, you like I said, you have those three types of investigators. You have people that will just go into these homes looking for that type of uh just to get it because it's cool. It's just something to do. It's like, oh yeah, man, we're gonna put this out there for everybody to see. But are you just stirring up the activity in the area and then you're just leaving it and this stuff is just still here? It's You're not helping anything. Now these people are having to deal with it and they're left there. Then you have the next people who, the next type of people who come in there that are like, okay, well, we're going to help you. We're going to do this. Um, they themselves are wanting to do it on their own because of something that they read on that they have no experience with dealing with this stuff. They think that their actions of them doing it without the intent inside of themselves of knowing how to get rid of these things will sit there and do some little thing that they read online and then, think that everything's okay, and then it might be fine for a while. It might be fine for months. Does it mean that that stuff is gone? Does it mean that they helped these people move on? In whatever case or whatever scenario they're trying to work? No. Because if you're not going in there properly to do something with the tools that you need to do it with the intent of helping these people and getting rid of things that are in these locations that are harming people, or things that are there because I'm not I mean, if I'm just going to a location and there's something there, but it's not there's nobody living there, why am I gonna sit there and be like, "Hey, get the hell out of here." This is that thing's place. I don't know what caused that thing to be there. It's attached to this location. If I'm investigating it and it's there and it's telling me that it's a demon or whatever, or it's showing me these things and moving or actions or whatever, scratching people or whatnot, then I need to get out of there. I need to cleanse myself and my wife, or whoever might be with us, do what I need to do to tell them, hey, I'm binding it here. Do not come with me. I do not give you permission to leave this spot. You will not have any attachment to me. You get a lot of instances, okay? And I'm going to get into this part of it, is that you get a lot of people who will um, go to these locations and they will go home and then they will be like, man, this crap followed me home, starting to happen at my house. Because when you go into these locations, as I said, you get these people that will provoke this stuff. You're asking this stuff to show itself, and when it shows itself, you're freaking out. Oh my God! Oh gee! Oh, did you see that? Oh, they're freaking out, and then they're going, "Oh my God! I don't understand, man. Like, why this is happening?" Or, well, you went in there with the intent to stir this up, and you wanted this thing to show itself, and it did. Whether it's malevolent or whether it's not. But when something malevolent manifests itself, you want to freak out and be like, oh my God, why is it doing this? Well, you went in there and you opened it up and you allowed it to show itself and you called it out. You can't blame something because you went in there with the intent to, try and show itself and get some evidence. Well, now you've got this thing that's there now and you brought it and you called it out. It's going to be there. Now you got to try and get rid of it. And a lot of people don't do that. They just leave it. And now this thing is attaching itself because you're the one calling it. It's kind of like you saying, okay, you're going to be my partner. It might influence or affect people around you, but you're the one who opened that door and allowed it to come through. So that's why I tell a lot of people, be careful what you say, be careful what you do, be careful of the things that you uh, um, your intent of doing things. As far as like, people going in there and they're like, I command you to show yourself. I command you to tell me your name. Who are you to sit here and tell these things something? Especially if it's something that's malevolent. Now, as I said before, with the intent of going into these spots and investigating these locations, doing your research and understanding that if you make contact with a spirit of somebody who is there because they passed on, they've died, they don't understand, they don't realize that they're gone, the connection with some of these spirits sometimes, and as I said, like in the Marzan house, when we went into one of the rooms, it's called Baby Girl's room, she communicated with my wife and I nonstop at the end of our tour because that was the last room we wanted to do. We went through the whole bottom floor, got upstairs, went to the war room, got really good, really, really, really good communication there because um, Kelly, Dawn, and Gabby, the tour guides and that are in the Marzan house, Kelly was telling us, we got this stuff in the war room. We don't know any history behind a lot of this stuff. We would like to see if we can get some names. We would like to see if we can get any information that you guys can about anything that they want to tell you about. So when we went inside, my wife was standing in the doorway. In the video, you can see it. Let me see if I could pull that up, because that was really cool. Let's see here. Hold on. When we went into this room, hold on real quick. Let me switch accounts. Okay, gotta do this. Yada yada yada. All right. When we went into the war room, I pretty much told the spirits of whoever was there, room or in the building that was there. Um, hey, I'm coming here as a veteran. I understand that there is or might be somebody who is here. Um, this is just a snippet of them uh, that was communicating with us. I'm just giving you a visual because you can check it out and see it. Come on. Let's see here. Let me share it. No. This one. Yeah. All right. So in this video right here, what you're going to see is a snippet of this is the war room. Come on. Like, get it so full screen, but probably going to have to do this. All right. Come on, you mother. Anyway, as you can see, this is the war room, which is upstairs, and a lot of this stuff that you're seeing, these uniforms, there's a case that has a lot of military memorabilia in it. On this case right here, there's more memorabilia throughout from families that are in town that dedicated a lot of this stuff to the museum and allowed them to place it on display. And as I said, you see my wife, Kelsey. She's right here. I'm over here. We've got our spirit portal box right here. I've got my bag of equipment stuff. We don't really go heavy on a lot of things. We just walk around with our cameras, or I post it on the podcast, stream it live through my phone as we're walking through the location. But I'm in the room. I let the spirits know, hey, my name is Raul. This is my wife, Kelsey. We want to talk to anybody that's here. If you have anything that you would like to say, if any of this stuff is yours, we appreciate your family letting us see this historic stuff. I myself am a veteran. I've been in the military. I was a staff sergeant. I was a leader in the military. I was in the infantry. I've been to combat and seen war. I've lost friends and family members. Just letting them feel, okay, well, who is this guy? That's over here trying to talk to us. As soon as I got done, the spirit started giving us names. Not only did it give us names, and I'm talking about it, it says, don't want to talk. And I said, you don't want to talk. I understand, as a veteran, you don't want to say things, or there's things that you don't want to say because you keep it to yourself. You don't bring out your business. And it said, war. And I said, war is, I was communicating with it, and it was crazy because my wife is like, holy crap, like they're talking to you. And it said, I said, thank you so much because we as servicemen were able to do a lot of things and learned from what you men, your great generation, was able to do, and you having that pride in our country, and it said America, and I said, yeah, America, we love our country and we served our country with everything we had, and it said pride. I said, "Yes." I said, you," and it was crazy because I was like, these men still had that feeling of pride in the afterlife and these women, and I was, like, blown away, and it was like, it said something else that was really crazy, and it was a phrase, and, um, I said, "I salute you, men, and I hope that you are okay in the afterlife and that you if you are still lingering around here, that you are at peace and, knowing that your service meant something, to this country." And it said a phrase, and I looked at my wife and I was like, "What?" And we I had gotten a hold of, see if I can pull it up. I had gotten a hold of the director there, Kelly, at the Marsden House. Anybody who's ever been there knows her. She's an amazing, amazing person, and I commend her so much for doing what she does at that museum and establishing a place for these spirits to feel at home because they are there in the home, and just the house in itself feels like it is like, you see in these movies where these spirits are like just in their home. They're comfortable being there because it gives them a place to feel, I know I'm dead, but at least I can still linger and feel comfortable in this place. It gives them a place to be. But we got names. I gave them to her because she did not get any names. I told her, these are the names that we got. Um, we'll do some research. I don't know anything about the memorabilia that's there, but this was the video where my wife, she's standing there, and right behind her is the stairway, and we heard somebody walking in the hallway, and I looked at her and I go, "You heard that, right? Like footsteps." She's like, "Yeah." But as you see, her shirt gets pulled or gets check it out. You guys can hear it for sorry. She's telling me right now, she's like, "I got touched. Something touched me." So I'll play it again. You guys can see it. Sorry. Yeah, she gets touched right here. Let's see if I can slow this playback down a little bit. You can see it, but I do have Kelly sent us the enhanced. Um, yeah, let me see. You watch her shirt, you'll see it. right there. You see it? You see it move? How crazy is that? Right? Let me see if I could go back, you could see it. But you'll see how right here, it pulls it right there. Damn it. Let me go back. Alright. See this part of her shirt get tugged. Watch right here. Whoop. There it goes. There, right there. Did you see it? It just, like, pulled back. But anyway, um, yeah, we got a lot of really good here's the, that Kelly sent me. This'll be better, you could see it. I love Kelly. She I love her. Whoop. There it goes. How cool, man. I love it. It's great when you can get that stuff because it's like it validates, um, you know, as a paranormal investigator, when you can capture physical evidence or you get touched and you tell people, "Oh, it grabbed me, it touched me," and they're like, "Oh, okay," because they don't feel it or they don't see it. But when you can actually get it on tape, oh, beautiful. Yeah, just watch her shirt. Whoop. I love it. Great. And, Kelsey was like, "I just got touched," and I'm like, "What?" I love it. Good stuff. But, I did not feel anything malevolent in the Marzan house. I did not feel anything like, threatening. It was a great time. We, spent some time in baby girl's room. She talked to us, told us she was 10. We told her about our girls. She said she liked chocolate. We told her the next time that we were gonna come and we were gonna bring her some chocolates. I asked her how many chocolates or how much candy. She said 4. And I said, "All right, I'll bring it and, we'll bring you some games to play with." And in the video, that I posted 7 of them because it's cap video captures of the room. When something was going in there, it would film, like, 11-minute portions of a video. In the end of the last video, I believe, she actually grabs the camera and is moving it. She's, like, touching it. You can actually hear her touching the camera, and it freaked me out because this girl, baby girl that's in the home, she's there, and they gave her a place for her to be able to play in. They call it her room. She's got toys, a bed, a mirror, really beautiful, beautiful job. She was kind of like a child, like, with a stranger that would be like, "Who are these people? Leave." She would stand in the hallway and watch us in the room, and when we were in the hallway, she would go in the room and touch, Kelly's phone that had an app where if the spirit got close, it would play the music box. And it was really like you get an understanding of what's going on. So for this child to be there in the home and experiencing that was really something. So the malevolency of the home, I did not feel it. I know they were talking about a cowboy or an entity of an older man that was in the, uh, I guess, the cowboy room that was in, one of the rooms in the house, and I think it was upstairs. There was a doctor's room that they had. We got some information about a doctor that was there. He had talked to us a little bit. Really didn't feel anything, but we heard a lot of stuff. We did capture stuff in the bathroom. Um, my wife was in there talking to one of the spirits, and it was saying that it was a female in the uh, bathroom. They think that this person might have been kept in that room because it was like a little crawl space, and they believe that they might have been possibly tortured or, like, kept there in that room, um, to torment that person. And I really felt bad about it because it puts a face on the evilness of what a person's life, what they went through, what they endured while they were there at that time. Um, and it can make you upset at times, and it gets to you because you're like, "Man, like, what is going on?" Um, but there was a point in the video where we were sitting down and my wife just got really emotionally attached to whatever was going on. And I was watching her because I did not want something to be like, "Okay, cool, let's hang out with this woman." You know what I mean? And I did not want that, because you gotta be really careful when it comes to things like that. Um, I observed her um in the room. There was a spirit that came because she was like, "I can feel something in it." You literally see it touch her face and, like, go down her body, and then it takes off. And for a lot of people will say, "Oh, that's not real," or, "It was just dirt." There is a total difference between seeing dust and dirt and seeing orbs that will, come and touch something. And this is one of the videos that we had when we did our investigation at, I believe this is the one that's gonna show itself. Let me close all this stuff. Um, Hold on. Stupid thing, man. Damn it. Let's see. Share screen, window, this one. All right. So this is when we did Be Still body piercing, and there was a crawl space. And anybody that doesn't know, this used to be an old saloon back in the day, and it's right next to the theater that burnt. And we got a lot of verifiable information about this location. Thank you guys for letting us do this. I appreciate you guys so much for allowing us to come in. I really wanna go back, and I really wanna do an investigation there, um, because it just put a perspective on what was going on in the afterlife itself, because these spirits were telling us because they were still there in the saloon. There was women there that were asking us for money because we were like, "Can you talk to us?" And it was pretty much telling us, like, "It's not gonna talk to us unless we give it some money. Like, you gotta pay me to talk to you." And I was like, we were just, like, so shocked. But it was really cool at the same time because, as I said, you gotta remember, there are multiple dimensions to this realm of reality. And the I personally believe that this is just something that we see, that we can feel, and we can experience with our senses. But there's also a lot of things that are going on around us that we're not able to see, and these spirits that are lingering around are still experiencing the life that they lived. I believe that. And as I said, it's based on the evidence that we've caught. So check this out. I think this is one where we catch the orb going and touching the ball, and it makes like a 45-degree turn. There's one. And it was funny because it said stomach, and my wife, her stomach started growling. She was like, "I'm really hungry." And it said stomach, which I thought was really, really interesting. I loved it. It was really cool stuff. I hate this internet. I get problems with it all the time. It's like it works and then it doesn't wanna work. I think this is where you'll see it come and then it takes off. As you see, we're all just chilling. Yeah, I don't but let me see. Um, we had a lot of incidences. I think I got the one where we were, um, mm, yeah, here's the one of the spirit, uh, when we were conducting it there with our, fellow investigators, at Tri-County Paranormal. Come on. But, this is the one where we were investigating in the bathroom and the, spirit moved our REM pod off of the sink. It threw it into the sink, and it was just really weird because I'm gonna see. Yeah, I changed my freaking password on Facebook so many times. It's like, I don't know if it'll. Oh lord. But, see if it'll go. Mother. Alright, I'm just gonna reset it. Screw it. But, yeah, as I said before, I mean, be cautious of what you're doing. Be aware of what you're saying. Be aware of how your emotional, level is when you go into a place because, as I said, these things are not dumb. They are spirits. They can see you. They'll know you're coming from a mile away, and especially if it's a dark and malevolent entity and you're not prepared to deal with something like that, please do not. Please do not. I highly suggest that you do not do anything like that. Um, when you go to a location and you, bring artifacts out of that location, you are actually bringing a piece of that energy to your home. Um, you see a lot of investigators that will, have these artifacts or these, things blessed, sealed, or bound by a shaman, a priest, a witch doctor, a, somebody who is able to conduct a ceremony to bind the energy and the spirits that are on this object, if that's something that you're gonna do, to be able to keep it sealed. Does it mean that you're getting rid of it? Because sometimes these entities don't wanna get out. They wanna stay there. They wanna be, um, they wanna be, stuck to it, and they will not leave. And they will just continue to be on those objects. And, um, I highly recommend that if you are gonna do this, please make sure that you do not, um, just start picking stuff up and take it home. Seriously, because it's not a toy. It is not a, um, it's not, people don't take seriously this stuff when it comes to dealing with paranormal locations. And yeah, I like I said, I would. Let me see if I can find this video of this thing, this entity that knocked over our freaking knocked over our rim pod and decided just to freaking, you know, let me see if it's in here. I don't know. Um, a lot of times you will get entities that do in fact, um, hold on to a object that is really personal to them because it has something either to do with them, um, and their life. Come on, you stupid thing. All right, here we go. It's trying to load. Taking forever. Close that. Close this. All right. Let me bring this down. Bring it over, and I'll let you guys check it out. But this was with our cousin paranormal investigation group, Tri County Nevada Ghosts with Troy. He was with us when we conducted the, um, investigation at Beasto Body Piercing, um, and got this capture of him and I in the bathroom. And we like I said, we can't explain how or I mean, I as you see, I sat there, Troy came in and the REM pod was sitting on the sink, and I asked it to knock it over. So sorry for the language, but yeah, it tripped us out. I don't know why it's playing so slow, but like I said, my internet sucks. Yeah, that's really cool stuff. Sorry. Let's see if it'll load and go. Oh, come Jesus Christ. Internet, you guys are about to get canceled. Anyway, I'll post check it out. Um, but yeah, a lot of stuff happens and people will say, that's fake, yada yada yada. Um, but remember this. When you get something and you bring an object out, please make sure that you're doing the proper thing by binding it before you do bring it home. Um, as paranormal investigators, our job should be is to present evidence of the afterlife. We're collecting information to further prove the existence that when we die, this is not the end. Yes, it is crazy and it's exciting and it's like, wow, this is really happening. We're capturing this evidence, but we got to have respect for these people and these spirits that have moved on because they are coming to terms or they have come to terms that they are not here, that they are gone and they are not able to do the things that they were normally able to do. And in that aspect, we have a duty as investigators to respect them, respect their area, and respect what is going on. And if we provoke or piss these people off or piss these spirits off, understanding that when things happen, it's because we either make it happen or we're causing it to happen because we're invading their space. So as I said, I just wanted to get on and talk about this on the podcast and just put that out there and let everybody know that, our team, if we're going to go and do something, if you guys are having or experiencing something that's going on, please feel free to let us know. If you want help with dealing with whatever, if you feel like something is in your house or whatever, and you're like, I just cannot deal with this. There's something here. It feels weird. It feels off. Let us know. My wife and I will come in. We'll check it out, and we'll do what we can to get this thing or get something, out of there, and deal with it the proper way, and get you evidence or get you the information that you need to find out what's going on. And if we can't deal with it, we will find somebody to help deal with that and get it out. Um, and as I said, I've been doing this for a while, um, and I've done countless studies and done research, and um, I've been around the world and I've talked to people that have dealt with this, with Buddhist monks, with priests, um, with people in the Muslim community who deal with jinns and spirits and stuff, and have dealt with things of this nature. Um, so please understand that when I talk about us being paranormal investigators, I'm talking about us being investigators of the research field. Um, and doing locations here in town is something that we want to do to highlight the historical value of Winnemucca and the pride that we have in our town and our community, because we are rich in history. We have a lot of history here, and there's a lot of things that people don't see. They just see it as, bars and casinos and beautiful scenery and get-togethers as a community when we have things and events, but there's a deeper historical sense to everything. I mean, our kids go to schools in historical places. We have events and places that are historically um, rich wings, and we have locations here in town that have tragic aspects to them that these spirits died in really tragic incidences, and they're attached to those locations. And I feel that if we bring that stuff out historically, the facts of what happened and what was going on, and the events that led up to these tragic events, that stuff out there, let people be aware of it and let them know, hey, this town has a lot of rich history, whether it be good or bad. But as a community, we thrive and we thrive together. And this community has always done that since its inception. And we continue to move forward as a community. So I thank you guys for allowing my wife and I to do these locations and investigate and get the information and get the historical facts regarding it, because there's a lot of things and a lot of places that I did not know about that people are reaching out and like, hey, come and check this out or come and look at this. We've had some stuff going on and we'd like to have you guys come out. And like I said, I thank you guys. We appreciate you. We look forward to talking and speaking with you and sitting down and getting this information. And as I said, just reach out to me on here, on Facebook, on YouTube, whichever, and we will do the best that we can. But we will definitely get you the information and find out what's going on. And as I said before, if there's something that is malevolently around in the area or on your location or your property or your home, and you feel or somebody that's got something that's dealing with that, let us know. We'll try and do the best we can. And we will definitely help you to work or dealing with what's going on and getting to the bottom of it and getting the information. So, from myself, Raul, and my wife, Kelsey, we appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for joining me and for everybody that viewed the podcast. If you have questions or you have um, concerns, let us know about something or let us know about the paranormal things that you've encountered in your life. If there's something that's happened to you that's drastically affected you or drastically affected your outlook on what you believe in, let us know. That's what we're here for. We're here to talk and communicate with each other and, help each other figure this stuff out. So thank you guys again. I appreciate you guys. This was great. I'm glad that I was able to, talk about a lot of this stuff. And there was a lot of more stuff that I want to get along, and I don't want to sit here and bore people with probably like this. We're getting grass off of this. But yeah, I appreciate you guys so much for uh, allowing me to do this and come on here and you guys joining me again. And it was great. This is cool stuff. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. It can be creepy sometimes. I understand that. I've done it so many times where it freaks you to understand who you are and what you're capable of doing, that you have the authority and you are the one who is alive. That's what they fear, or that's what they're mad about, and they're upset, these entities that just get really ticked off. So thank you guys. Appreciate you. Get a hold of us. Let us know if there's anything that we can do. Um, and thank you to the people that have reached out for us to come and investigate your location. We will be doing that. I promise you. There's nothing more than what we want to do than to come to your guys' locations and see for ourselves and get the information, speak to who or whatever is there. So thank you guys again. Um, and we'll be doing this again hopefully soon with another episode of High Desert Paranormal Investigators podcast. And thank you guys again for allowing us to be here and do this with you guys. And reach out to us. We're here locally, Winnemucca, Nevada. See you guys soon.